everyone. A very good evening and a very warm welcome to the session. Sat Shri Akal, Namaskar, Bonjour, Adab. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fine and amazingly well. Welcome to the second session of our chapter Food Security in India, जहाँ पे हम बात करने वाले हैं आज about the food insecure people. Who are the people who are struggling with food security? Yesterday we have understood what does food security mean, right? आज उसका रिविजन भी करेंगे वैसे तो, but after that we'll understand कि who are the people who are more vulnerable, who are more suffering because of lack of food security or are not kind of ensured the food security, and why is that? ये सब करेंगे आज हम हमारे इस सेशन में डिस्कस. So let's get started. Let me quickly introduce myself. So guys, as you can see, this is me and मेरा नाम Ankana है. I am your expert for social sciences at Embibe. I've done my studies in the field of humanities, come with an experience of more than 9 years of learning, teaching, interacting with students of both CBSE and ICSE, online and offline, specialize in English and social science. If you talk about the chapter that we are doing right now, the topics, food security in India, it can broadly be divided in the topic of introduction to food security, different terms, different people associated, different dimensions. And food security, how is it assured, what are the various schemes in India, ये दो broad जो है आपका वो topics हैं. Concepts that we are going to do today under the introduction to food security is going to be the people who are insecure of food security in India. What is the social composition as a cause of food insecurity, which means the social background, how the social background's history, all of these things play a role in making people insecure in terms of food, securing food for themselves, and hunger as an aspect of food insecurity. What do we mean by hunger? ठीक है, तो चलो शुरू करते हैं आज का सेशन. Before I begin with the recap, I quickly want to say hi to all of my dear students. I can see a lot of you have already joined, which is wonderful. Hi Ragbir, Sandhu, hi Kushagra, good evening. Who else do we have over here? Jaldi se hi bol do. Hi Shivam, good evening, welcome to the session. Tarun bhi hai I think आज तो. और कौन कौन से बच्चे हैं यहाँ पे? Please make sure to write the message in the chat so that I can say hi back at you and welcome you to the session and address and acknowledge your attendance. Now, while you guys are doing that, I will be parallelly doing the recap. तो पिछले सेशन में बच्चे हमने पढ़ा कि फूड सिक्योरिटी का मतलब बेसिकली होता है खाना अवेलेबल होना हमारे लिए इंश्योर्ड तरीके से, कंफर्म तरीके से, राइट? हाय मानन, वेलकम टू द सेशन. हाय यशस्विनी, good evening. So it ensures consistent access, affordability and availability of food for everyone. ठीक है तरुण, मुझे पता है आपने मेरे को मैसेज भी किया था YouTube पे, बट ठीक है, वेलकम टू द सेशन आफ्टर 2 days. ओके, नहीं रिकैप अभी कर रहे हैं यशस्विनी, तो कुछ भी मिस नहीं हुआ है, डोंट वरी. सो गाइज लेट्स स्टार्ट. So I was telling you, food security means security of food, which means ensuring that food is available in 3 aspects. It is accessible, people are physically able to reach it. It is available at a price where people are able to buy it. And of course, it is also affordable and access हो गया and available for everyone. कुछ लोगों के लिए, कुछ लोगों के लिए नहीं है, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, right? दृष्टि, that is what we mean by food security. It basically has 3 important dimensions, which is your availability, accessibility and affordability. The definition of food security did not contain all these 3 things till a certain point in time. Then it was changed. Okay? It is vital as both the impoverished and those above the poverty line face insecurity during disasters. So when there are situations like your COVID-19 pandemic, transportation is affected. In such situation, it doesn't matter whether you have the money or not. In general, people struggle with availability of food. So that is where food security comes into the play. Calamities like droughts, they diminish food production. We know any disaster, drought हो रहा है, famine हो रहा है, floods आ रहे हैं. Food production will not happen, which will lead to shortage of food, which will lead to increased prices of food, which will impact the ability of people to buy food. And we have seen all of this actually happening at a great scale in history. I gave you the example of French Revolution. मैंने आपको French Revolution का example भी दिया था कल कि French Revolution में subsistence crisis क्यों हुई थी? Why did the subsistence crisis happen? Because food was being sold at very high prices. Population was more, the supply of food was less, there was a shortage of food. And that led to something like the French Revolution. You can imagine, right? So that is why food security is so important. Such crisis can lead widespread starvation, potentially resulting in a famine. Famine is adverse extreme case of starvation or pandemic caused because of food or water problems, which leads to a lot of deaths, right? So we have seen French Revolution or the Bengal famine that we have seen. In India, challenges persist as famine-like conditions endure in parts of India due to different calamities and disasters and events like the COVID-19 pandemic, emphasizing the need for continuous food access during such crises. तो इन सारे टाइम पे हमें जो है इंश्योर करना है कि चाहे कोई भी प्रॉब्लम आए, कोई भी आपदा आए, एनी डिजास्टर, एनीथिंग, वी ऑलवेज हैव फूड अवेलेबल फॉर ऑल द सेक्टर्स ऑफ द सोसाइटी, एवरीबडी इन द सोसाइटी इन एनफ अमाउंट. ठीक है, कुशाग्र वर्ल्ड कप के मैचेस मैंने सारे देखे थे, वैसे रेगुलरली नॉट सो मच. ओके, चलो, so let's get started. So guys, I hope all of you have actually said hi to me and I've said hi back at you. Also, please make sure to let your friends know that we have started with this session. We're going to discuss a very important topic, which is who is food insecure, who are the people who are insecure in terms of food security in India. काफ़ी ज़रूरी, काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ है ये, तो ज़रूर से आप अपने फ्रेंड्स के साथ शेयर कर दो वीडियो, उनको बता दो दैट मैम इज़ ऑलरेडी लाइव एंड स्टार्टेड विद द सेशन. ठीक है, इज इट यशस्विनी? इसके पहले नहीं कर रहे थे हम, हमेशा डिफरेंट चैप्टर्स होते थे. ओके, सो ऑन मार्च 24, 2020, यू गाइज रिमेंबर, हमने थाली बजाई थी. ठीक है, एवरीवन was taking had a spoon and a thali in their hands and everyone was banging it to make COVID go away, right? And just 2 days, 3 days after that, a complete lockdown was announced. So on March 24th, the Prime Minister of India announced a lockdown of the entire nation for 21 days, which of course did not end in 21 days, went on for more than 60, which was an effort to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. It was a good idea at that time. This was the best we could have done, right? But because of this lockdown, a lot of people suffered, especially the laborers. Guys, if you remember, a lot of news on the news channels, a lot of news articles in the newspapers, हर जगह हम पढ़ रहे थे that there are people who do not have transportation available to them, but they cannot stay back in the cities where they were staying because there's no job. Nobody's going to work because of the pandemic. They're not being paid. They don't have enough money to pay rents or feed themselves. So they were going back to their villages. But the transportation was also shut down. So they couldn't go back. So people were walking all the way, right? And they were dying. They were starving. They were struggling. It was a huge section of society which extremely, in a very negative way, got affected by the pandemic. We did as well. But our struggle was not as bad as a certain segment in the society, right? Now, can you guess which is that labor sector? It was, of course, the casual laborers, right? People who did not have a job security, people who were not going to be paid. For example, if I was working, even if I couldn't go to office, my office people had found a way to make me work, okay? And I was being paid. Even if there were people who were not being paid 100% of their salary, at least 50% of their salary, 70% of their salary they were receiving. But these were the people who were not working, not receiving any money, did not have any income, any other source of income, did not have any savings, and were terribly, you know, how do I say, affected in a very negative manner. So in this session, we'll learn more about the casual laborers, we'll learn more about their problems, and we'll see how, despite of all the efforts, there is a food insecurity problem, who are the highest at risk, and why we have been talking about food security so much. So food and nutrition insecurity is prevalent among a significant portion of the population in India. एक chunk of population है, there's a chunk of population, there's a particular group where you find this very commonly, जहाँ आपको बहुत commonly ये मिलता है, where people do not have access to food, where people are not getting food which is nutritious enough, right? So especially if you have to talk about the groups which are adversely affected, जो ज़्यादा affected लोग हैं, who are they? In villages, see, it will vary from area to area, and poverty as a challenge we have already read about the vulnerable groups. We have already read about social exclusion. So all these groups that you have read about over there, it is exactly who we are talking about, and even today. आज भी हम उन्हीं लोगों की बात कर रहे हैं जो poverty as a challenge में vulnerable थे, वही लोग इन सारे सिचुएशन में. When you are saying vulnerable, what do you mean? ठीक है, vulnerable का क्या मतलब है? कोई भी प्रॉब्लम आए जो सबसे ज्यादा रिस्क पे रहेगा, loss झेलने के. When we are saying vulnerable, that is what exactly we mean, right? Hi Badal, good evening, welcome. हमारा मतलब ही यही होता है कि यार whenever there is a disaster, whenever there is a situation like pandemic, whenever there is an extreme condition, these people will get affected the first and these people will get affected the most. So these segments, no matter what conditions you're talking about, will always remain the same. For example, in villages, people who do not have land, they work as maybe as a wage worker, daily wage worker, maybe they rent or lease out the land, but they do not have their own land, as a result of which they're always dependent on somebody else for their employment. They cannot independently work. ठीक है, या जिनके पास बहुत कम, बहुत छोटा सा लैंड होता है. Why? Because the production is really small. It's not enough to get them good amount of money. Traditional artisans, service providers facing food insecurity, people who have lost their relevance. Now guys, we know that relevance is less, which means any which ways their earning is less. And one thing you have to remember, finances, money play a very important role. People who have money will somehow figure their way out. जिनकी भी पैसे की कमाई बहुत कम है या अर्निंग है ही नहीं, people who are earning really less or not at all, have no fixed source of income, may have get paid one day, may not get paid the other day, right? Hi Ashika, welcome to this session. These are the people who are always going to be very high at risk. So traditional artists, people who create some artifacts and traditional things, what is the problem? You remember places like let's say Varanasi, all the places where tourism used to happen. These people were dependent on tourists for their earning. They would create some cultural things which the tourists would come and buy. ये tourism वाले जगहों पे कई सारे ऐसे vendors थे, कई सारे ऐसे लोग थे जो ऐसी चीज़ों को produce करते थे जो tourists आके खरीदते थे. Now tourism was बंद, tourism was shut, right? How would these people come and buy? People were not buying and these people were struggling. Then the street vendors, people who travel around the streets, different lanes, different colonies, or people who are standing by the street and they sell something. All of that was shut down in COVID, for example. Or if there is a flood, it will be shut down. In such situations, how will they earn, right? Then, of course, self-employed workers, petty as in small, very small, petty self-employed workers struggling with food access. Where will they get the food from? Okay. Now, see, there were a lot of other people also who had lost their jobs. For example, let's say I lost my job. But the thing is that people who earn above a certain amount of rupees, right? Let's say 15,000, 18,000 rupees, they have some savings and they can use that. Such people already are underpaid. इनको वैसे ही पैसे बहुत कम मिल रहे होते हैं, उतने में ही गुजारा नहीं हो पाता है, वो भी बंद हो जाएगा तो where will they buy the food or anything else from? Right? Destitute means helpless, such as beggars, also experienced severe food insecurity. Beggars को भी कौन पूछता उस वक्त? Everyone was at their home, right? So in such situations, it was really problematic for all of these sections and segments of the society. Urban areas में people who were struggling were basically people who had very less money wala job. Workers in these occupations are often engaged in seasonal activities. So in cities, there are a lot of activities where only in a particular season people have employment, है ना? कि मान लो गर्मियों में, सर्दियों में या एक समय पे उनको employment है, बाकी समय पे नहीं है. Or the casual labor markets, people who work on a daily wage basis, people who work as street vendors, side में ठेला लगा करके, एक cart लगा करके, people who sell something. All of these people had no source of income, no money and no access to food. They receive meager wages, which means very less amount of money and are hardly able to survive already when they are earning. जब पैसे मिल रहे हैं उसमें तो survival हो ही नहीं पा रहा, नहीं मिलेंगे तो कैसे होगा? The urban food insecure families rely on these poorly paid jobs, making it challenging to access adequate food and nutrition. So when they're earning, that time itself, they're not getting their hands on good amount of food, nutritious food. Imagine when there is a problem, उस समय और क्या होगा? बादल कमेंट पढ़ लिया मैंने, जिस दिन खोलूंगी अकाउंट उस दिन कर लूंगी एक्सेप्ट, टेंशन मत लो. I don't usually visit that account, that you might have already realized. Okay, talking about Ramu, तो एक example ले लेते हैं, story of Ramu देखते हैं. Who is he? He stays in a village called Raipur. He is a casual laborer, which means daily wage worker. Whenever he gets a job, he goes to work. If he doesn't get a job, he doesn't go to work. If he gets a job, he gets paid for the work of that day. If he doesn't get a job, then no money comes in. आज काम मिला तो आज के पैसे मिलेंगे, काम नहीं मिला तो पैसे नहीं मिलेंगे। जब काम मिलेगा उस दिन काम पे जाएंगे रामू जी, जिस दिन काम नहीं मिलता है उस दिन रामू काम पे नहीं जा सकते हैं, ठीक है। He is basically, so let's see about his family. His eldest son, who's Somu, 10 years old, that's it. Tends cattle for the Sarpanch year round, earning 1000 rupees. So you can see how sad it is. A child who's just 10 years old is already working, and that too just for 1000 rupees. ठीक है। उनकी वाइफ भी है सुनहरी, शी वर्क्स पार्ट टाइम क्लीनिंग लाइव स्टॉक, विच मीन्स टेकिंग केयर ऑफ द एनिमल्स लाइक द काउज बफेलोज, उनको नहलाना, बेदिंग देम, receiving milk, food, veggies. So she works part time and then looks after the household. Okay, ma'am, the food security department in India is under the union list. Then the state government need or need not require permission for giving free 20 Karnataka. किसने पूछा है ये सवाल? Who has asked this question? I'll get back to you, okay? Because I have a slight confusion with your question, but I'll get back to you. Okay. Then agriculture seasonal nature leaves Ramu unemployed for about 4 months. Now, bache, we have seen, right, that agriculture is a job which is seasonal, which has seasonal employment, faces a lot of seasonal employment, which means during the sowing or harvesting, there's a lot of there's a lot of work. So, a lot of people get hired, but otherwise they're not hired the rest of the year. ठीक है, बाकी के टाइम पे वो hired नहीं रहते. So what happens? Similarly, Ramu is also not having job for about 4 months. The rest of the 8 months, he gets some or the other work. While in those times where he's not getting work or is unemployed and the season is not on, he'll look for odd jobs. For example, construction में पत्थर उठाने का काम, sand उठाने का काम, lifting, helping, in whatever way he can the other people. He goes and do that, but of course, it is not consistent, it is not constant, it keeps on changing. Sometimes he gets the job, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he'll make money, sometimes he wouldn't. So during unemployment, the family faces food scarcity, sometimes leaving the kids hungry. You can imagine, the kid is already working, the wife is working, the husband is working. Despite of all of these things, there are days where they're not working and there's not even enough money for that one day also to find food, and the kids stay hungry. If they are hungry, they are malnourished. What would be the problem? They will be malnourished. धीरे धीरे न्यूट्रिशन मिलना कम हो जाएगा, नरिशमेंट डिक्लाइन करने लगेगी, हेल्थ कंडीशंस जो है खराब हो जाएंगी इंप्रूव होने के जगह, and the individual who will grow up, the child who will grow up will not be very strong, will not be very healthy and hence not very resourceful. But more than that, उनके लिए struggle हमेशा रहेगा. So these are the people who are always at risk. So Ramu experiences food insecurity for at least 4 months of unemployment during the agricultural off season. But that doesn't mean that the rest of the year he doesn't. He may again face the same thing. Okay? Okay. For casual laborers, when does food insecurity take place? तो जो casual laborers होते हैं, daily wage workers, food insecurity उनके लिए कब develop हो जाती है? जब उनके पास job होता है, when they have jobs, when they have money, when they do not have jobs, or all of the above. Okay, guys. So let's see. सबने जवाब दे दिया. Interesting. Oh my God, amazing. Evelyn, Yashashwini, Sai Tanmay, Shrivali, Tarun, Dushyant, Yashika, Nagraj. Absolute correct answer and perfect timing. Wonderful. नैना रिदम ने काफी जल्दी जवाब दिया है. दृष्टि, waiting for you to answer. The correct answer is when they do not have a job. The question was pretty easy, right? Anyone when does not have a job can be food insecure. Excuse me. Okay, Yashika. डेमोक्रेसी चैप्टर से डाउट है. यशिका, प्लीज मेक श्योर दैट टुवर्ड्स द एंड यू पुट द डाउट इन द चैट. मुझे याद दिलाना. आई विल मेक श्योर बिकॉज योर एग्जाम इज देयर. हम रिजॉल्व कर लेंगे, ठीक है. ओके, नाउ विल रीड द स्टोरी ऑफ अहमद, हाउ वी रेड द स्टोरी ऑफ रामू. ठीक है. नाउ ही स्टेज इन बैंगलोर. तो हमने एक रूरल केस देखा, अ केस ऑफ अ विलेज पर्सन स्टेइंग इन द विलेज. टुडे विल रीड अ केस, नाउ विल रीड द केस ऑफ a person staying in a city. Bangalore is a big city, right? So he moved from Jhumri Tilaiya, which is a small place, with 3 brothers, 2 sisters and elderly parents. Parents who are old, okay? They live in a jhuggi, which means a kacha chota sa small house. It would probably be like 1 room where everyone is staying. A kacha, not very solid concrete settlement. You might have seen jhuggis, slums where you have small houses. And the family survival relies completely on Ahmed's daily rickshaw earnings. So he's a rickshaw puller. Whatever he earns on a daily basis, the entire family is dependent on that. Can you imagine? 3 plus 2 plus 2. So basically 7 people and Ahmed himself. 8 people rely on one person. His income, of course, fluctuates. Some days some days allowing him to save after purchasing the necessities, while on others he barely covers the daily needs. Some days he get enough money that he is able to buy everything and still get few bucks left, 10, 20, 30 rupees left in his pocket. But there are also days where he's not even having enough to get what is required for everyone's food requirement. So he possesses a yellow card. Okay, so he has something called a yellow card, which is a public distribution system card. Public distribution system, I have told you, right, that government gives food at affordable, very, very affordable prices so that poor people can buy it. Rice, which I otherwise, because I do not fall below the poverty line, which I am buying, let's say, for 45 rupees kg, 50 rupees kg, Ahmed will be able to buy it using his card, maybe for 18 rupees kg or 12 rupees kg, like that, or even cheaper than that, right? So he used this, which is a BPL line individual granted to them, which gives him access to essential items like wheat, rice, sugar, kerosene at half the price which is otherwise available in the shops, right? Hi Komal, good evening. So he buys his monthly stock of essentials on specific days designated for below poverty individuals at ration shops. So every month he'll go using the card, whatever amount of food he can buy. Using that card, he goes to these ration shops and gets his monthly supply. Despite of the fact that the earning is not constant for him, some days he gets money, sometimes he gets very less money, sometimes he doesn't get any money at all. Ahmed manages to sustain his large family as the sole earner, and that is only because of the PDS card, right? Because let's say if he has earned 400 rupees today, now to buy food for 8 people for one day, it is easily going to cost him at least 200 to 50 rupees, right? Or let's say at least 70, 80, 100 rupees will easily go away to secure 3 times ka food for 8 people. But with the ration shop's help, with that 400, 500 rupees, he'll be able to feed his family for at least 5 days, 7 days. So that is the advantage that he has because of the card that he is holding. So we see that the card, the public distribution system is helping people like Ahmed, wherein Ramu does not have a public distribution system card. So he is he struggles a lot for the 4 months where he is unemployed, along with his children who starve and go hungry for most of the days in those 4 months. Now talking about social composition as a cause of food insecurity. तो बच्चे social composition क्या होता है? We have already understood the social identity. What caste, religion, money, what is your identity in the society, how society treats you because of your background, because of that identity, right? So social composition and financial constraints contribute to food security in India. Of course, people who do not have money will not be able to buy it, but a lot of people who do not have money have a reason for not having that money. What is that? Their social background. Not just that, social background in general also affects in ensuring security of food otherwise also in India. So socially disadvantaged groups, as we know, are the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, lower caste OBCs, especially the ones which have very less money, which are not educated, who have poor land or who have low land productivity. They are very highly prone to food insecurity. So people out of these, on top of that, if they do not have their own land, they have a very small land, they have a land which does not have very high productivity, all of these people struggle a lot. Those affected by natural disasters often migrate in search of work, facing increased food insecurity. This is another problem. A lot of people in villages, let's say a village was struck by thunderstorm, or maybe there was a drought, or maybe there was flood. Some natural disaster happened in the village. Now, after the disaster is over, the families would really be disturbed. They would really have, they would really be struggling in making money, in trying to ensure the food for supply for their families. Now, a lot of times we have seen that in such scenarios, the family or at least the earning member decides to migrate. What do you mean by migrate? Migrate means move to a different location. Now, bache, over here, because they are staying in a village or in a less developed area, the movement would actually not be to a different village, but to a city or a town, like a bigger place, a better place. Because normally the village people have an expectation that they will find a job. ठीक है? Komal, that's very sweet of you. Thank you. उन्हें normally गाँव में रहते वाले लोगों को उम्मीद होती है कि नौकरी मिल जाएगी शहरों में. They'll be able to find and secure a job which will pay them decently to be able to survive in cities and towns. But that does not always happen. A lot of times we have seen people in urban areas also struggle. So because they're not able to do this, now see, they leave their house in the villages, अपना घर छोड़ करके जो है गाँव से आ जाते हैं शहरों में. Now life is more expensive in urban places. They have to pay the rent also. And if they're not earning, then the risk of them going hungry increases. फिर वो भूखे रहने की जो risk होती है वो और ज़्यादा high हो जाती है ऐसे केस में. Women especially pregnant, especially the women who are pregnant, the requirement of food and nutrition is more, right? And nursing mothers, which means mothers who are feeding their children, breastfeeding their children, nursing mothers who have very small children, where the child is dependent on the mother for food and survival, along with children who are just 5 years old or below 5 years, they are very significantly, very seriously affected because of lack of nutrition. They are malnourished. They have very high risk of getting sick or starve or malnourishment or death to both mother and child. So we see this is how the problem occurs in such situations. So guys, according to the National Health and Family Survey, which is NHFS of 1998 and 99, the number of such women and children is approximately 11 crores. And imagine, this is a very old data. बहुत 25 साल से पुराना डेटा है ये. आज अगर हम देखेंगे तो ये और बड़ा हो सकता है नंबर, और होगा. So that is what is very sad, right? चलो, इसी के साथ हम एक और क्विज क्वेश्चन कर लेते हैं. SCs, STs, OBCs are considered dash vulnerable to food insecurity than other members of the society. Equally vulnerable, less vulnerable, sometimes as vulnerable, or more vulnerable. What will be the correct answer? Okay, while you guys are answering this, Tanmay had asked a question a while back. I had missed answering that. Ma'am, the Food Security Department in India is under the union list, then the state government need or need not require permission for giving the free 20 kg per household like Karnataka. Okay. Tanmay, first of all, bache, state, if it's any subject which will just be a part of union list will be solely taken care of by the center. Sometimes maybe with some permission, some cases, in some cases, it may be made an exception that the state can have special permission and go ahead. However, food security is something which is a part of your concurrent list, because both the state and the union has to come together to ensure this. The problems of a specific state may be different from that of a problem of another state. For example, Kerala maybe the problem would be lesser compared to that happening in Bihar. So when union creates rules and regulation, it will have the same rule regulation for all the states. But we know that the poverty scenario, the unemployment scenario, illiteracy scenario, healthcare scenario is very different for different states. So the states also have to be involved in this decision making, hence it's a part of a concurrent list. But if it was just union, then of course if Karnataka government decided to do something on its own, it would need the permission of the center. But because it is a combined decision, they can also make certain decisions by discussing with the union by themselves. Okay. Sai Tanmay, I hope you got the answer. Hi Shakuntala, good evening, welcome. Komal, I'm really glad that I'm able to help you. Okay, now let's quickly see. Evelyn, Naina, Ridham, Yashashwini, Tanmay, Tarun, Tashant, Yashika have answered absolutely correct and perfect timing. Shivali and Nagraj have also answered correctly. Wonderful. Rohit and Drushti have taken an attempt. Great. More vulnerable, right? They are more vulnerable. ठीक है? Okay. चलो. अब इसी के साथ certain regions exhibit a disproportionate concentration of food insecurity, which I was just discussing. That there are places where people are more food insecure relatively to other places of the state, of the city or maybe of the country. कहीं पे कुछ ज़्यादा लोग हैं जो ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम में फंसे हुए हैं, कहीं पे वो कम है. It varies. So economically backward states with high poverty rates like Bihar, ठीक है, like Jharkhand, UP, West Bengal, where population is more, where earning is less, all of these places will struggle more in providing food security to their people. The tribal and the remote areas in general, which is let's say in mountains, where reaching there or accessibility in general is difficult. तो नॉर्मल दिनों में ही अगर वहाँ पहुँचना डिफिकल्ट होगा, तो जब ऐसी कोई कैलेमिटी आती है तब तो और ज़्यादा मुश्किल हो जाएगा. सो इन एरियाज में पीपल विल ऑल्सो सफर अ लॉट. Regions prone to natural disaster, where earthquakes are very frequent, where floods are frequent, every year it happens. In such places also food insecurity will always be a problem. So as I was telling you, UP, especially the eastern and southeastern parts, Bihar, Jharkhand, Orissa, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh, some parts of Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, these are some places where concentration of the number of food insecure individuals of the country are very high. Why? More people, less earning, less employment, hence the food insecurity problem. And of course further the state plays a very important role. State का एक अपना बहुत important role होता है. A lot of these states have not been able to figure out the issue and how to resolve it and solve it exactly like how few states have been able to. For example, if you look at, okay Aishwarya, your name displayed as Komal, so I thought it's Komal. Now talking about, as I was telling you, that Tamil Nadu में बच्चे, a lot of people have in fact recovered much better above the poverty line. Poverty as a challenge, we discussed this, because the public distribution system was much better over there. They figured out a way to make the food reach to more and more people at a very affordable price. So even the poorest of the poor people are able to get food and secure themselves from food insecurity. And that makes a lot of difference. That matters a lot. Now talking about hunger as an aspect of food insecurity, एक aspect की तरह अगर hunger को treat करें और इसकी बात करें, hunger is a critical indicator of food insecurity and not merely a result. So normally you would feel that acha, people who are not secure for food, they end up being hungered. So this is a result of food insecurity. but it is not just a result, it is a scale, it is a parameter, it is also an indicator which helps us understand that food insecurity exists and at what extent, at what level. So it also helps us understand that where poverty is perpetuating, where it is entering, how it is spreading, who are the hungry people, who needs to be secured for food. Food security involves addressing current hunger and preventing future hunger risks. So when you look at the people who are hungry in today's date, it helps you understand, okay, fine, these are the people I want to secure in future. These are the people I want to save in future, help in future, right? Chronic hunger, which is constant hunger, right? Like how there's a chronic disease which does not change, which remains for a very long period of time. So very long-term hunger is a result from persistent inadequate diets in quantity or quality due to very low income among the poor. So for example, when you see a child like this, which is very sad, you may even find adults looking like this who are extremely weak, extremely malnourished. They are chronically hungry. They have been, stricken by chronic hunger, which means for a very long period of time due to lack of money, due to not being food secured, they have not had access to food either in enough quantity, or even if they were having good quantity, the quality was not enough to fulfill the nutrition that their body required, and hence they went hungry as they are. Seasonal hunger is basically, chronic is long term hunger, you guys, ये थोड़ा याद रखना है, ठीक है? This is long term hunger, this is more of a short term hunger. That okay, for example, in case of Ramu, we saw that for 4 months, they go hungry. They are not food secured. They suffer, they struggle, right? So seasonal hunger is, which is dependent on agricultural cycles in rural areas, seasonal job fluctuation in urban areas. Basically, the part of the year where job is not available. तो जहाँ पे अगर साल में थोड़े से टाइम पे जॉब अवेलेबल नहीं है, तो वहाँ पे लोगों के पास अर्निंग नहीं होगी, वहाँ पे लोग सफ़र करेंगे, करेक्ट? चलो, तो अब इस क्वेश्चन को आंसर कर देते हैं. वी कैन डिवाइड हंगर इनटू 2 डायमेंशंस. वन इज क्रॉनिक हंगर, व्हाट इज द अदर हंगर, फुल टाइम, सीजनल और हिडन. दूसरे हंगर को क्या बोलेंगे ऐश्वर्या? शकुंतला, बादल, तन्मय, सोचो जल्दी बताओ. काफी सिंपल है, वी हैव जस्ट डन दिस. What is there? 2 types of hunger in which the division can be created in. What is the second one? First one is chronic, which is long term. एक short term भी होता है, उसका क्या नाम है? And we'll look at the responses now. So, हमारे पास एवलिन, यशस्विनी, साई तन्मय, श्रीवल्ली, तरुण, नागराज, बिल्कुल सही जवाब, perfect timing, good job. Rhythm, Tushant, Yashika, good answer, correct answer, and that too very quick, interesting. Ashutosh and Rohit are left. This will be basically seasonal hunger. इसको क्या बोलेंगे? Seasonal hunger बोलेंगे, ठीक है? Okay. Now moving on. India's focus on achieving food self-sufficiency started post-independence. So we have been aware of our problem, right? Hi Adarsh, seasonal बिल्कुल सही है. Aishwarya, seasonal is absolutely correct. Good job. So ma'am, humanities is about English. Humanities is बच्चे arts. Arts को humanities बोलते हैं. उसमें social science, literature सब कुछ आता है, ठीक है? So hunger an aspect of food insecurity में we have to understand that we were aware of our problem, and this is a problem which persisted even during the Britishers. उनके टाइम पे भी ये issues बहुत रही थी. So right after our independence, we realized this problem and started working around it to resolve it, because we had a lot of poor people. We had a lot of food insecure people, and we wanted to secure the food for them. We wanted them not to go hungry. So green revolution helped a lot in agriculture, especially for the farmers, and also the amount of production of food, especially in wheat and rice, which helped us reach the food self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency क्या होता है? We are producing enough food for our requirement of the nation. Earlier, for example, if we were not self-sufficient, it would mean that whatever the amount of rice, wheat, staple food is required, we would have to buy from other country because we are not producing enough for our population. But with the Green Revolution, we were able to achieve this. Indira Gandhi acknowledged the success of the Green Revolution and commemorated by a special stamp titled Wheat Revolution in 1968. So it was successful, it was accepted by her, acknowledged by her. While food grain production increased significantly, there was uneven growth across the states. So Green Revolution helped us a lot, right? It helped us in producing enough food for everyone. It helped us in improving the economical status of a lot of farmers, in providing the food for everyone. But however, this helped us a lot as a nation. For each of the state, the result was not the same. It varied from state to state. किसी state में कुछ ज़्यादा अच्छा हुआ performance, for example पंजाब, हरियाणा, यूपी, इनके लिए ज़्यादा useful था, whereas कुछ states के लिए इतना ज़्यादा useful नहीं था. UP and MP experienced notable growth in food grain production, right? So जैसे उत्तर प्रदेश और मध्य प्रदेश में 2015 and 16 में we saw good amount of production. Total food grain produced increased from 252.22 million tons in 2015 to 16 to 275.68 million tons the next year. So you can see that a huge, because we are talking about tons, right? 1 ton is 1000 kilogram. So there was a difference of, guys, 25 tons, which is 25,000 kilograms of grains, which is a huge thing. So they had a very, very strong, substantial, solid wheat production in 2015, and again, which was 26.87 for UP and 17.69 million tons for MP. So a good amount of production was done. वहीं पे वेस्ट बंगाल को देखा जाए और यूपी को देखा जाए तो they recorded again a very significant amount of production of rice in during the same period. तो जहाँ पे एमपी और यूपी में wheat produce हुआ, यूपी एंड वेस्ट बंगाल produced good amount of rice also, which was significantly very, very huge. So let's quickly answer the last quiz question of today's session. ठीक है? The Green Revolution in agriculture, especially in wheat and rice production, aimed to achieve food self-sufficiency. Is this true or is this false? जो Green Revolution हुआ था, खास करके wheat और rice में, उसकी वजह से India as a nation was able to achieve the food self-sufficiency, produce and provide enough food for our own requirement as a nation, for our population. Adarsh, absolutely correct. बच्चे, Aishwarya, I am basically from Ranchi. My parents stay there, and every day 6 p.m. we have session for class 9, 7 p.m. we have session for class 8 on both Embibe app or website you can say, and YouTube also. ठीक है? चलो देखा जाए किसने किसने दे दिया जवाब. Evelyn, Rohit, Yashashwini, Sai Tanmay, Tushant have answered absolutely correct in perfect timing. Tarun has answered correct, and that too very, very quick. I'm waiting for Ashutosh, Mohit, Ridham, Shrivalli and Nagraj to answer. Mohit ने भी जवाब दे दिया है बिल्कुल सही टाइमिंग में. Shrivalli has also answered wonderful. Okay. Nagraj का भी जवाब आ गया है. It is true, you guys, right? This statement is absolutely true. Green Revolution did help us a lot. So with this, we have finished today's session. Let's quickly summarize. Food insecurity in India affects socially disadvantaged groups, migrants and vulnerable populations like women, children, right? Chronic and seasonal hunger are the two types of hunger in which we can divide it, which happens either because of inadequate diet and fluctuation in employment. Chronic is long-term hunger for either in lack of quality or quantity of food. Seasonal is like because of agricultural changes, employment changes, जो थोड़े part of the year short term में होता है. India aimed for food self-sufficiency post the independence through the Green Revolution, notably increasing wheat and rice production. Uneven growth in food grain production across states was observed. It's not the same for everyone. Despite strides in production, chronic and seasonal hunger remains prevalent, showcasing the complexity of addressing food insecurity in the nation. Okay. Yashika, can you please put your doubt that you had in the chat so that I can quickly resolve it, because we are towards the end of the session now. तो आप अपना जो आपका जो भी डाउट है वो चैट में डाल दो. तरुण, it was English literature. Okay. As we saw after the introduction of the Green Revolution, there was an increase in food production. What are the other methods and schemes introduced by the government to promote food security? That we are going to learn on Monday, guys. So please make sure that you are registered for the session, for all the upcoming sessions. ठीक है? तो आपको क्या करना है? You guys already know the drill. School exams में जाकर CBSE में select your goal of 9 CBSE English. Then you have to go on home under Imbibe live classes. For example, this is the session that is happening right now. Make sure that you are registered. ठीक है? या तो जैसे ये session तो actually खत्म हो गया है. But these are the upcoming sessions. So food security in India, you can see 27 November 6 PM. Make sure that you are registered, and all the other upcoming sessions are also listed over here on the app. So just ensure that you have a quick check and register yourself and not miss on the sessions. Students watching on YouTube, do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel अगर session अच्छा लगा तो. Tarun, buffer stock जब discuss करेंगे, we will be discussing this. ठीक है? हाँ जी तरुण, मैं यही हूँ. And guys, do make sure to check out the Imbibe Lens app, and do not forget to connect with us on our Telegram channel. This is the link and this is the QR code. So with this, guys, I will quickly wind up the session now. Thank you so much for being here. It was a wonderful, very interactive, very interesting session. Plus, food security is something that is a very, very important topic, and we need to understand that, right? PDS is basically public distribution system. Distributing food ka system for public. It includes ration shops as well. Okay, by government. Yes. Next week, 28th, 29th, I'm traveling to Mysore. I'm not sure whether I'll attend. I'll try to join informing. No worries, Tarun. You can register yourself. Okay? If you're able to join, good. If not, no worries. You can watch the recording later. Okay? Okay, guys. So thank you so much. I'm going to close the session now. I think Yashika is not here because I was wanting her, I wanted to clarify her doubts. No worries. Next session mein kar lenge. So see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend. Take good care of yourself and your loved ones. Have a great evening. Stay tuned and keep imbibing.
Keep imbibing. We believe in you.